Welcome. In this particular episode of my podcast, Nichel Anderson, Short Stories and Beyond, we will have a guest speaker. In this particular episode, the guest speaker is Mr. Victor Dowell. He also did a segment on my other podcast, Surviving Your Journey Toward Success. We continued that interview and we focus on this particular podcast, what I love to do. The people that has been following me know that I enjoy writing. That's my little home away from home, my cream of the cream, my beloved activity that I like to do. I really like writing. It's like a hobby. It gives me very peace of mind, joy when I write stories. So in this particular podcast, we have Mr. Dowell. He offered to agree to read for King Mahlon. It was an episode that was coming up about a month ago when I pretty much knew what next episode would be in the line of what's coming, in the future weeks. And so I asked him if he could read for that particular character. Now, I already have selected at this time the actor that will play King Mahlon. Now, I have already selected the actor that will play King Mahlon in the stage play. So that's already been filled when we return back to the prestige return of MOLIAE stage play. That actor has already been selected. So in this particular podcast, Mr. Dowell is just actually volunteering to read it for me as we did the interview in my other podcast. So he agreed to do that. Now, to give you some introduction of Mr. Dowell, he's a star player in the independent film industry. So he have done independent films, meaning he has written, produced, and directed independent films. He's also a professional actor as well as a model. He's also a photographer and cinematographer, of course, in that sense. And he's a writer. So we can get some insight from that because especially in that type of business, you get to deal with a lot of people, a lot of different people. You have to manage a lot. So this will definitely touch on the career aspect as well as you balance your personal life too, to combine it and make it work, especially when you're in your purpose and you're expanding out to what your purpose is meant to be. Our purpose to me is something huge. It's something bigger than we can explain. You think of it as a small attribute that you need to aim for, you need to look for because that's what you're good at. But actually it's bigger than that, and it's just something like it's like finding a rarest gem. And anyhow, so I hope you'll be able to take some caveats of this particular interview with Mr. Dowell as we go ahead and enter this particular interview. Question I want to ask you is, can you name the top 2 things that people should look out for once they reach their success? How can they sustain their success?
Well, one of the things is I realized that, especially in Hollywood, when you think you've made it, you haven't really made it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people get caught up in that. And they think that once they do one big project, that's it, and that's not it. I've seen so many people. I've worked with people, and I've seen a lot of people who, they get that one project under their belt, and they let it go to their head, and they think that that's it, that they've arrived. And in Hollywood, especially, you really never arrive. It's all about what you've done lately.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to ask that question because I don't know. I think success, people see it and view it differently. And then once they get the success, they think, okay, I don't need to do anything more, but this should be it. And I think it's also a sustainability because like you said, you have to, first subscribe to a higher power, and that takes work. You just can't sit around and expect things to happen to you. You have to be proactive about it, be humble about it as well.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, go ahead. You wanted to add something?
I was just saying I agree with everything you just said.
Yeah. Now, what do you suggest people should do when their journey is delayed? Lack of resources and uncertainty. I pick up that a lot from people, even when I do like my film projects. They get frustrated, especially when the project might be going not as fast because things happen. You know that.
Yep.
Nothing happens smoothly and fast. It happens when it happens. And
Exactly.
I pick up that I don't know, they look at the project they are part of and they mainly thinking about their own selves in a sense. It's not going fast enough because they're trying to get the success that they need, but
Right.
not understanding that. So what do you suggest people should do when they get into that mindset?
Well, two things. I think number one, you should come into the situation with a little bit different mindset. You should recognize that it's a journey. You know, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You know, you're not going to just nobody reaches their goal when they want to. You know, if you do if you look at the bios of just about every successful person, whether it's in acting or film and television or writing or whatever it is, you know. Everybody went through a lot of years of hard times before they actually achieved whatever their success ended up being. You know, even going back as far as Abraham Lincoln, he was a failure, you know, up until, you know, up into the mid part of his life. So that's the first thing. You just come into it knowing that it's a journey, it's a cycle. It's going to be peaks and valleys. And I think if you brace yourself for that in the beginning, then when those hard times come, you'll expect them and you'll just work your way through it.
Yeah. Ride the wave. Sometimes the wave is fast, sometimes it's short, sometimes it's long.
Exactly.
It's not the what expected. I think personally for me, I did experience that a lot because the people that I would hire on my project, they will always look at it as, you know, like a time. I don't know why this is not moving fast. Or I don't know why that's moving fast. And it's
Well,
just like
those
we
are
talking. Go ahead.
those are usually people that don't have any experience in it. You know, you can tell when people are doing it for the very first time because they expect everything to go at light speed. But anybody that's done it before, they know that it's a process, it's a struggle. You
Yeah.
know, and it takes some time to do it right.
Exactly. You know, it's not something that just can happen overnight. The thing about success is that the ones that do actually, when they see success that, you know, you have achieved, they're more like, well, you know, like you did it overnight. I'm just like, how, just like you just mentioned, so many people, even in our history books or not, you know, struggled a
Yeah.
long time to get there. They earned it because it takes a lot of sweat and hard work and mindset. It is not something that just can happen like a blink of an eye.
Right. And you don't always see what's behind the scenes. You know, people are always talking about how somebody's an overnight.
Exactly.
There's no such thing. You know, whoever that is, they did something behind the scenes that just
That's what
nobody.
I always said. They either paid a hefty fee or
Yeah.
they sold something that they don't
Yep.
realize they should have kept. But it's nothing like that. You have to put the sweat and the effort in it. Because if you think about it, when you know, talk to other people that's coming up and you're trying to motivate them or encourage them, the story is much more richer when you can tell about your journey of all the scars, pitfalls, and stuff like that you experienced, that you overcame. And
Yeah.
so they can, instead of just saying, oh, well, you know, I just got it like that. But actuality, that's not true.
This is never true. It's always the case. It's always some behind the scenes work.
Yeah. Now, as a photographer, what do you look for as a good image to you touch on
Um,
that?
well, it's kind of it's hard to describe. You know, it's just one of those things. I don't know if you've ever had a craving for something to eat and you don't know what it is, but you know you'll know it when you see it. You know,
Oh, okay.
or sometimes you like I don't know what I want to eat, but I'll know it when I see it. It's kind of the same with photography. A lot of times I would say I always look for something different. You know, I don't like the same old cookie cutter stuff. I always try to find something different. But it's just that look. You kind of know it when you see it. It could be a awkward angle. It could be some kind of light in a different way. And most of the time, it's something spontaneous. You know, I don't like a lot of hard poses and stuff. I like to kind of catch the subject, you know, in the middle of a
Yeah.
mile or something.
Now, which one do you like doing best? Directing or doing photography or writing?
I think I like writing the best because, yeah.
Me too.
You just kind of get immersed into that, and
Yeah. I
sometimes
think
that
I
can
think
be,
don't get me wrong. I think, other things is just as, people just got their thing. But for me, I like writing too. Even when
mm,
I started filming, gosh, it was such a struggle. You know how it is. And I
yeah,
will always just say when I'm on set, I really prefer writing because this is tough.
it is. And writing, you kind of in control. You don't have to worry about
Yeah,
somebody's gonna show up, or if this person is
it's the right fit.
yeah, and
Ah,
he did great in his audition, but then all of a sudden, you get him in front of a camera and it's
and it's
complete.
they be that's what I call. I don't know if I should say that, but things change
Yeah,
real fast.
you're exactly right.
But with writing, it's such a calm, peaceful type experience, and you're right. You're in complete
Yeah,
control, and
yeah,
then you get to feel that you're going to entertain or inform someone when they get
right.
to read it. Yeah,
Yeah, get lost in it. Yeah.
yeah, you do. Okay, so what do you like most being a professional photographer?
What do I like most about being a photographer?
Yeah, but what do you
Well,
like most about it?
um, the thought or the idea that you can immortalize something is
Wow.
is powerful. Once you take a picture of somebody, that's something that it lives forever, basically. And whether you keep it or whether that person keeps it, your work is going to be around for maybe their grandchildren to see. And it's
Hmm.
almost like putting a little
I was
piece
gonna
of
say,
you
yeah.
into the kind of out into the universe.
Wow, I ain't never thought of it like that, but that's true.
We have to look at it.
And just like writing too, I feel like even if the person is not a writer, and I always feel if you can get to point to put something in a book, it lasts forever. Just like you feel about the photography too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and for the next generation and next generation,
It
you
goes
know,
forever. Exactly.
it goes on forever. Let's see, core examples to being a proficient director and producer of a project. I think that's a good question. That can help some people.
Again, you have to have an open mind about things, and I think the challenge to being a good director is just trying to be a little bit different. I get frustrated when I watch movies or whatever it is I'm watching, and everything is just so predictable. And
Hmm.
you just got to find new ways to get uh, the most natural responses from people. And you can play around with it, but you have to be creative. You have to be open minded, and I think that you have to focus on getting as natural reactions from your actors as you can, because I think that's what drives a scene. If it's natural
Yeah.
um, and believable. That I think that's on a director, because a good director can make a bad actor believable, and same way, a bad director can make a good actor look bad.
Wow. Okay. All right. The next question deals with during your auditioning process for actors. What
Uh-huh.
are some key attributes that you look for besides just the talent for the role that you're trying to fill?
Well, I try to see what kind of person they are around other people, because that's important. You can get
Yeah, you
somebody
preaching now. Ha!
you can get somebody with a good, that's a good.
Yes.
They could be
Yes.
they could be a jerk on the scene, or they could be withdrawn. Sometimes they might have a good read, but then you get them, and then they
Yes.
don't want to be
Oh,
around people, and they all withdrawn and shy and stuff. And it's little things that jump out when
yes.
they're doing their
Hmm.
audition that kind of trigger you to is their
I do the
personality.
same thing. I do the
Yeah.
same thing. Yeah. I learned the hard way when I did my first audition. It was mainly about I was new to the game, but after that I learned real quick,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to really analyze. So for me, if you on my project, it's not just your talent, it's your personality,
Oh yeah.
and it's things that I ask you, and that's
Yeah.
determines. And I even see it up to the day. The point when you get on the project with me, you still auditioning. Why? Because I think it's a relationship.
Oh
Just
yeah.
like you said earlier about, in Hollywood and what have you, and people in the business there, or even not in the entertainment business. If someone is listening to this podcast and they're in another industry, whatever industry that they are, at the end of the day, it's interpersonal skills. You
Right.
have to constantly work on that relationship. So even if you're on a project with me, you're still auditioning. And so if your personality changes and flip on the wrong side of town, care how talented you are. I don't care if you the lead. I let a lead go on my very first project. People's like, what? But to me, bring the toxicity on the project. That's not something I'm willing to work with,
Right.
especially in my position of producing project. Victor,
Right.
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of
Oh yeah.
mind energy and all of that. And
Yes,
we
it
have
is.
to think of it as a team. And
Right.
so even on the project, if they flipped in, I let them go. Yeah, you
You
have
have
to.
to.
Yeah. Because it impact all other things too.
That's right. That's right. And it
uh,
doesn't take long.
Go ahead.
And
Yeah, oh, it doesn't take long. It's real fast.
yeah.
It's real. Got to look at those cues and see anybody that's on the project that can't give you respect as a director or producer, or even as other actors. I even look at that too, how they get along with the rest of the cast. And if,
Definitely.
yeah, because I have found it could take one person that has a bad attitude and it impact the cast.
Definitely. And then it makes everybody get disheartened, or it creates a lot of animosity between actors. But either way you look at it, it grows fast.
King Mahlon. Now, for people that's listening, now we're going to jump to my second podcast, Nichel
Mhm.
Anderson, Short Stories and Beyond. And Victor is, like I said, is multi-talented. He's also a professional actor, but he does the other roles, as I mentioned, as a director, producer, and writer, and photographer. So he's going to help me. I'm going to do something different. Besides me reading the scenes, he's going to read King Mahlon. Now, King Mahlon is married to Queen Hagar. They're the parents of Princess Amina. So in this timeline, is before Princess Amina, was on the scene, right? So where King
Uh,
Mahlon is about to say his first line.
how was she? Is that the first line?
Yeah, that's the line. Let's get started. In this episode, for my podcast, Nichel Anderson, Short Stories and Beyond. In this episode 11, entitled, In the Day of King Mahlon. Let's get started. Opening scene. We pick up from last week's episode, where moments later, after Queen Hagar's final say in the Royal Governing Hall, to the top official Orions and their counterparts of tribal leaders, it is Tesnar that reports back to King Mahlon, who is still in a secret location somewhere in the Royal Mitsrayim Palace. Moments later, there was a knock on the secret entrance to where King Mahlon was located. He was propped up in his royal resting estate bed rest with still fine linen over several parts of his body, but not as many as before his awoken state a few Apsu days ago. He was wearing his dreaded dark Nubian hair pulled back that showed the goatee firmly in place on his facial features. Several of the royal gold tables were positioned around where he laid resting. Chairs adorned with the finest gemstones of Mitsrayim. There were 3 attendants preparing his herbal-infused meal as instructed by Ezra, the high herbalist of Mitsrayim. As the knock continued at the door, King Mahlon commanded the guard that was positioned near the entrance to let the person enter, for he expected who it was. Princess Hannah had already left for her noon Apsu Mystery School of Thought teachings, and then will be taking to her meal before returning back during the shadow hours with Queen Hagar to visit Mahlon. The knock was of royal affairs concern in code. The golden doors opened with 4 top military guards of rank. It was Tesnar holding stacks of papyrus scrolls. The golden doors closed, and 4 protective Mitsrayim guards stood at a distance. King Mahlon speaks first.
How was she?
Brighter than Apsu and faster than any queen lioness, my king.
What was the Orion's response to our final city?
As we felt before, no joy from them. It is not over.
So be it. To whom was in presence for the Orions?
Heset and Manam, along with the lower region tribal leaders that arrive this day.
Traitors they are. Soon regret will be all their feet against Mitsrayim.
Agreed. There will be a response from their superiors of Mitsrayim not complying to their wishes, my king.
They will try to push me out into the open. I feel there are still spies searching for me.
True. With you out, they will try to move in onto Mitsrayim. No one knows but those that are needed of where you are.
Send Tenor, Hessen, Beef, and Naru of my guard to change out the ones with Queen Hagar and Princess Hannah. Wherever they go, so shall they, to protect and see as my own eyes.
And what about Senel? Comrade Data is there in Ganuto as you speak, my king.
He will make that region known where Mitsrayim stand. I shall speak with Comrade Jeffur upon his return, and the rest of the 400 guards and allies. I will let Comrade Jatur know of my wellness. He has proven worthy.
Do you feel Senel will give the knowledge for what Comrade Data seeks from him?
Not as so in this moment. I will help Comrade Jatur find for which he seeks in time. We must find his father. In time, it shall be so.
Insane. You did good. I thought it was ancient times. I'm like, is this Mitsrayim?
That was a cold read.
I know, that was the first time we read it, everybody. Now wait till you hear the graphics when I edit it. It's gonna be awesome.
I know, because I heard the other stories and they all right.
Oh, that reminds me, before we end our interview today, which one is your favorite episode so far?
Gosh, I don't know. It's like I said.
You can talk about one of them.
Yeah. Like I was telling you earlier, I've never heard anything like this on the internet, so it's so intriguing to me. I like all of them. It's like, you hear. I like books on tape.
Yeah. They are.
Even though I write, I kind of like don't read a lot of books because
you're so busy.
I overanalyze stuff. I'll read one sentence 5 or 6 times, and it'll take me forever to read a book. So, I mean, I read, but I like books on tape, and this is something that I love.
Oh, yeah, I like books on tape, too, yeah. It allows you to dream of the scene more.
Exactly, you get all into it.
Yes, and you're right, it progresses you Because when I read too, I use highlighters.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know, it said that it's best to read a book 7 times to fully understand it.
I can believe that.
So when you say what you did, that's actually what you're supposed to do.
Oh, okay.
But audio I never thought of it that way, but you're right. When you listening to it, you know, in your ear, it allows you to keep going. Because sometimes I like to go back and reread that page again.
Oh, I'm telling you that. I'll do that all the time.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm not going to hold you up. I do appreciate you taking the time to be a part of this show. Is there anything else you want to leave the audience with? A quote, a motto, Mr. Dowell?
I can't. You caught me off guard with that one.
It's not on my questionnaire. I try to be very organized for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. You know, I guess the most important, if anybody could remember anything from this interview, just always remember that the process is, it's just as important as the end product. Don't get caught up so much in just, staring at the finish line and getting frustrated when it's not getting any closer, because the process is just as important as the finished product.
The journey.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Dowell, for being my first person that I interviewed on my show.
I enjoyed being here. I appreciate it, and I look forward to being on here again.
All righty. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. You have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.